So today is the Q&A session, yeah? Good. Now before I start off with the Q&A session, then there are, this time is the, after 10 days, there are some yogis, some meditators, they want to extend, and some may not want to. It's perfectly all right, no problem. Yeah? And also that after, how many days are right now? 10 days or 11 or 12 days. Now I have noticed that some of you, one or two or three of you, that you have not been attending the Zoom talks. And also, you didn't come into the interview. And some of you also didn't reschedule your interview. Then with that, of course, you say that you may have other commitments to do, I'm fully understand what sometimes you have to do certain things. So you have a right to do those things, no problem. But I have a right to cancel your name also, isn't it? So the commitment has to be there. I'm looking for commitment. I don't care whether a yogi goes, he develop fast or slow, As long as the commitment is there, then I'm willing to share whatever that we can. But if the yogi, the meditator, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to come in as you like, you don't want to come in as you like, then with the first impression I see it, because I cannot see you physically, then after that you say that, Bhante, how come my name is all deregistered already? How come I don't have all this extension? Then it's because of your commitment. One of the biggest things. As I said, the only thing I can see what is going on is when you're in Zoom or when you're in interview or what you tell me in your interview. Other than that, I cannot know. In the retreat session, in the real retreat, when we have a retreat, proper retreat, as I said, when I check the yogis, if the yogis don't come into the meditation seat during the sitting session, I know I cannot be there all the time, but I randomly come in. When I see the yogis are not there, tomorrow I'll question you. I remember, then I question if the yogi have no proper this. We do not know whether they are sick or not. We give them a chance to explain. But when they don't have all this good explanation, you can pack up your bags and you can go back. And I'm going to give you compassion. Anyway. So that is that. So hopefully, we still got 2 more weeks to go, with this. So make sure that your commitment is there. The commitment is still strong. The path of enlightenment comes with this strong commitment. You can play with all these things. All right. Okay, let's go into this one. Good. Now, let's go for the first question. For the past several days, I had wandering thoughts coming in while I practiced walking meditation. Today, I tried different approach. I assigned my mind to a task to record the walking images on my mind like an instant camera. I used my mind to monitor the recording mind. It worked. My wandering thoughts are much lesser. I did my sitting immediately after. My Mettā flowed very well. No sloth and torpor at all. I felt happy. Am I doing it right? Or is it just a coincidence after 1 week of practice? I need your advice. Okay. Now here, when you are, there are wandering thoughts coming in, and then now you said that you are doing recording the images, and also monitoring the mind, and in that sense, it is when you make your mind busy, then therefore the wandering thoughts don't come in. This is not to say that it's bad, But after all, it worked, after that, which is fine. It's not a problem. But this one, can be, sometimes can be a bit too much. Can be a bit too much in the sense that you are trying to reduce the wandering thoughts, the what do you call that, the floating thoughts coming in, the thoughts, random thoughts are coming in, and then you try this way, and then you work. Not to say not a problem, but at certain times, these wandering thoughts come in, and you try to do this. Sometimes these wandering thoughts can be very strong, and they are very strong, and you try to use this thing, a very strong approach also. And both of them are going to fight each other, and then you end up with more thinking. Sometimes, not to say all the time, but if these wandering thoughts are not too strong, if you use this, then it's perfectly all right. Now, if during in the walking meditation, if the wandering thoughts are coming in during the Mettā session, so this time you just let go of the Mettā for a while, and then what can you do? Sometimes instead of we use this one walking images, we just do a mental label. I mean, it's work in another way. That, for example, when you step on to a right step, we just mentally we label it as right step. And we go into the left step, and then we go into the left step, then right step, left step, right step, left step. And that can be quite helpful because, again, your mind is doing something. Start doing something, and then it prevents that wandering thoughts from coming in. So that also can be very helpful. The images one thing is that, not to say it cannot, but especially when you come into vipassana meditation, then this type of images, we need to sort of like reduce it as much as we can. If not, these images can be too much. So it all depends. So now you walk with the right step, left step. That's one way to reduce with the mental labeling, that one way to reduce the thinking mind. Or you can adjust the speed of your walking. Sometimes the speed of your walking is to go slightly faster, or sometimes you go slightly slower. And then you adjust the walking, that also it can be very helpful. And also, of course, after a week or 2 or 3 weeks of practice, then that time also the wandering thoughts also becomes less. It becomes less. And it's easier to manage. As the first few days, especially, it's quite difficult to this one. So if you are really committed and really tried it again and again, day after day, then it will be very helpful, and you can see that your hindrances starts to reduce. Okay? All right. Next one. Now, these few days, my mind is restless and I had dreams at night. There is strong attachment in me with my family members, and I was sharing merits to all of them, although in theory, they are resultant of their own karma. Does it mean that I still hold wrong views when hoping to do something? With this type of things, first of all, this is not what we call wrong view. This is not wrong view. It is not to say wrong view, but it's just a nature of attachment. It's just a nature of craving or clinging on it, which is the Pali word is upadana, which is stronger form than craving. So therefore, there's a strong attachment with the family members. You want them to wish them well, and you start sharing merits with all of them. Well, of course, when you start to share merits with all of them, doesn't mean cannot now, But whether they can receive it or not, there's another matter. But the mind is still wholesome. The mind is still wholesome. So it's not a wrong view. It's not a wrong view in this. It's just there's just greed. There's just attachment there. So don't worry about this thing too much. Huh? So if the mind is restless, then work on it. Overcome the restless mind, walk a little bit more, or sit a little bit less. There's one way to do it also. And then make sure that your mind is like, you are meditating at home. Maybe you got other things to do and you got other responsibility, other duties to do. And therefore, this restless mind will sort of like overflow into your meditation. So when it overflows into your meditation, it will kind of, makes you a bit difficult to meditate. No? So we are not 100% meditation here. We are not like a full yogi, a full retreat now. So therefore, there's a certain attachment is going to be there. So as long as you can acknowledge it, you can able to aware of it, then that would be very good. No? You can be aware of them. Be very good. So instead of sharing merits with them, I think it would be better right now is just generally not just share some metta with all of them. Just when we are doing daily activities, when we are not sitting, not walking, we do something else. Then for family members, we just share, touch and go type of metta. May all of us here be well and happy. May all be free from harm and danger. Then carry on to do your other things. So don't worry too much about the attachment for now, since you all are at home and having all your families there. Now, question 2. Is my metta not going far because there's always sloth and torpor, and sincerely towards the true wishes of beings cannot be touched by my heart? Well, there are two things. When the metta or any form of meditation practice cannot go further, well, there's many things, and some of the things also we cannot able to see also, because those things that we cannot see is part of your past karma, and it's ripening now in the present life. That something I do not have the ability to see all these things. Perhaps maybe the Buddha, of course, they could do it, or other teachers may able to do it. But I cannot to see what karma you did, and then this is a big problem, and then it stops your meditation practice. That I cannot see, and I cannot comment on that. But what I can comment is that a number of, yogis cannot go far, or meditation cannot go far, whether it's metta or vipassana. Is one of the biggest thing is this sloth and not just sloth and torpor. One of the biggest thing is these 5 hindrances. These 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances, if you don't able to tackle it properly, you don't able to manage them properly, then it's going to be very difficult. Any form of meditation that you go through, the 5 hindrances is just waiting around the corner. So I give the talks, somewhere in maybe like June, July, somewhere there, talk about more in-depth about sensual desire, talk about ill will, talk about sloth and torpor, restless mind and worry. Then we talk about skeptical doubt, So these are, for a lot of us, these are one of the biggest things that it prevents us from meditation, from going further. So of course, we cannot able to mention all these things, but if you can, then go back to some of the talks in the past, and all these things are already in the not in Facebook, that you can go through some of the talks on the hindrances, and those can be very helpful. It can be helpful in vipassana and also in samatha. So one of the things is this. So here, if the sloth and torpor is there, then one of the things is that you got to re-arouse back the mindfulness again. One of the things is that mindfulness is not strong, and then all kinds of hindrances is coming in. So re-arouse the mindfulness again. Start off with walking. Even if the whole walking is just mindfulness walking, then start off with that also. Certain times in our, even in long retreat, in a proper long retreat, at times also we are affected by these hindrances. Not like just first few days, but also somewhere in the middle in the retreat, then this sloth and torpor really arises, or other thinking mind arises. Then we try to overcome them as much as possible. And one of the things that I find out that for myself, one of the things is that you want to overcome all these hindrances, so make sure that your mindfulness is strong. Your mindfulness is strong. If your mindfulness is not strong, it's like all the barrier, all the protection is gone. Then everything can come in already. Is my metta sincerely towards true wishes to beings cannot touch with my heart? That also is another possibility. But this one, the second one, you need time to really develop it. It takes time. It's not going to be there. You sit down there, you start off with metta, or even like 1 week, 10 days, and suddenly your mind can able to reaching out to all beings, and then you can have boundless metta and so on. No, not yet. Not so simple. It takes a while, and sometimes some of us also have we gone through some of the interviews, as I mentioned, that some of us still grappling on what is this metta, Bhante. Still cannot feel it now. Still cannot feel it. I mean, and some of us can feel it. Yes, very good. But the metta is like quite limited. Like quite limited to oneself or to others, and it's still quite limited. But these are the way how we grow, from limit. But it takes time for you to expand until you can able fully reach out to all beings without exception, without condition, without boundary. That's why the metta is called boundless. They are boundless. They are measureless. Finally, it has to reach out all beings. So the second part is that the true wishes, it takes time. The sincere wishes, it really takes time, and it takes how your mind expand it. It's only about more practice on here, this one. This one is about more practice on here. So don't give up. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. The metta is not as simple as so straightforward. Some of us think, start this metta retreat. No need. Don't worry about walking. Don't worry about this one and so on. Then when you come down, it's a bit much more complex than what you think it is. It's not so straightforward. It's not so that easy. All right, next one. Okay. When I switch from walking to sitting, I focus on one vector that is usually radiate to sentient beings. That means I don't go through the expansion from I outwards, which I've done during the walking session. Is this acceptable? Is this acceptable? Yes, it is acceptable. Now, if you are doing the walking and then you start off with your I, and then if you already start off with that and you find that time, your walking experience, it's quite smooth, and your walking experience is quite gentle, and the mindfulness is flowing, and the groups that you already done, and maybe yourself and so on, it's flowing, the metta is continuous, then it's good. Then after that, you carry all this mindfulness and metta directly into the sitting and start away your sitting. And then with that, you can actually start off with whatever you stopped earlier on, Then you can continue. That is perfectly fine. That is perfectly okay. But it does not happen all the time. Sometimes they are good sometimes they are good walking. Then they'll be good. Sometimes the sitting also is quite good. If the walking sometimes, then it kind of like there's a thinking come in, there's thoughts coming in, and then you do your metta, your lines and so on. Then it broke like halfway. Then you forget where, how. Then you find that your mind is not not so continuous and so on. Then after that, when you come to your sitting, then that sitting, you start off with yourself again. Then you start off with yourself. So there's no one way of doing things. There's no one way of doing things. It's just like as you get better, things get more simplified and more continuous. Then as long as the Mettā can still come out and is continuous, then it's perfect, and then it's good. All right. So there are many ways, many things. That's why the interviews are very important in the sense that we cannot have everything in the Dhamma talk. So interview is that individual personalized experiences. That is, you need somebody to help you to untangle here and there, because there are maybe some doubts arises. How to do this? How to do that? Is this okay? Is that not okay? The interview, and also it's a live session that you can able to have a dialogue. That will be good in the sense that how you use your tone, how you use your words, and so on. It makes an impact on how you feel during that time in your meditation. Okay? Okay, so your first question is all right. Now, second question. Is radiating mudita a form of recollection of joy or happiness that I have experienced from the wholesome actions so that I can radiate to others for them to experience that joy and happiness? It's not in that sense. It's not in that sense. Not in that sense, but close to it now. Close to it, but it's not in that sense. Now, when you radiate mudita also, or this is what we call the altruistic joy, that you are being happy of yourself and being happy of others. Now, when you recollect yourself, that means you recollect on the past good deeds that you have done from oneself in the past, also in the present, and also the mudita stretch over into the future also, even you have not done it yet. So let's say, don't worry about the future. Let's say, it looks at about the past. Let's say we have done a lot of good deeds, and we recall the deeds that we have done. And then when we recall the deeds that we have done, then we get happy. We get joyful that we have done such a wonderful deeds. Now, with that joy that you're able to recollect from yourself, and you already have that happiness, then with this joy, you begin to wish others, not from the joy, not that they're going to experience that joy, but it's more of that they too have done a lot of other good deeds, that they too have done a lot of other wholesome deeds. And then with that, we recollect on their wholesome deeds, and we are happy for them. We are happy for them. Then we are glad for them, and we are sincerely happy for them in that sense. Then that means it is not like from that type of joy. It's just that they have done their own good deeds, and we wish that their good deeds can give them happiness and joy. It's not really from you, your joy, It's not really from your joy in that sense. It's you wish that their deeds that they have done, and then it will produce the happiness and for their welfare, for their well-being. Now, take for example, a simple example, but we neglect it all the time. We do it 1,000 times, but we don't realize that these are also mudita. As simple as what we call sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. This is mudita if you do it correctly. But nowadays, we do it just, everybody do good, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. But the word sadhu is that when you see somebody do something good, we say, well done. It means well done. It means excellent. I mean, we are happy that the person do something good or the group did something good, Then we being happy for them. But most of the time when we do it, we don't have that. We don't, I mean, sometimes we are happy if, for what others are doing. But we don't even realize that this is part of mudita. Mudita in verbal, in speech. So we express out that we are happy and we have no jealousy. We have no jealousy for all the deeds that they have done. Of course, there are some minds may have all this wrong thinking, then different. But most of us, when we do that, this is how we express. We see somebody's good, we express it out, the word sadhu to them. So this is what it means by mudita. So in this sense, okay. Now both this one, this question and the next question also is something to do with mudita and something to do with expectation and greed. Let's combine these two questions together. Let me read the first question first. You mentioned that mudita, you wish that the material and spiritual gains are not diminished. Yes, I use that word, not diminished. Yes. Isn't that a form of expectation? Okay. Now let us come back with that. Okay, afterwards. Let me read the second one first. Second question. Now, Bhante, during one of Bhante's guided mudita meditation last year, I was clearly doing mudita meditation and had a big shock to see greed. I didn't know when the mudita was transformed. Now, this guided meditation, the guided mudita meditation last year, this is from the recorded Dhamma talks that you can able to download from one of my blogs. Then one of the talks in my blog, that I've done all this guided meditation. So, okay, now, had a big shock to see greed. I didn't know when the mudita was transformed. This was a very powerful session. Okay, in the subsequent Dhamma talks, I learned that greed is a close enemy of mudita, and again on Monday. Since knowing their relationship, mudita has to go through greed as a pre-check before mudita begins and guarded against greed during the process, ending with just dissolve, I don't know yet. Otherwise, I cannot be sure if mudita is tainted with greed. Now, in this Mettā Bhāvanā, tapping on the same concept from theory, I know that metta counters hatred. Thus far, radiating metta during sittings, outside sitting, radiating metta to others is kept at a distance, mostly touch and go. When I encounter unpleasant events, metta is either not there or shaken. At this initial stage of knowing metta, I keep radiating metta and watching to see metta, pleasant and unpleasantness. May I seek Bhante's comment? Okay. Now, let's talk about this mudita since you're asked. Now, mudita also, it's tainted. It can be tainted, as I said, there's a near enemy of mudita. And the near enemy of mudita is this worldly joy. The worldly type of joy. And this worldly type of joy, I mean the text, they put it like that, only a worldly text of joy without explanation. For a lot of people, when they read it, they don't realize that what is going on. What do you mean by worldly joy? So worldly joy here, it means that there's always some degree of greed is connected with it. Some degree of attachment connected with it. As I said, for example, when just now when I say when you do dana and when you do dana and we say sadhu and we are happy for you, we're happy for you for your action, for your good deeds. Wonderful. We are happy for you. We praise you. We praise you with that. We express it out and we praise you verbally and because you did something good, something wholesome. Now, on the worldly joy and the worldly gains one, you do something good or you did something good. For example, you suddenly got the lottery and then and suddenly you become very rich overnight. Then people start to praise you out of nowhere. Your relatives that you've never seen before suddenly come and want to join you. And this one, I read it during one of the Olympics. There's a diving. This one, and she's already 14 years old, and she got gold with that. That story. Once she got gold, she went back to her village, and all the relatives she never seen before suddenly turned up at the house. I mean, this is exactly what it meant, what it meant by that worldly joy. They want to share your joy, but they have ulterior motive behind it. And they have to share your joy, but they have ulterior motive behind it. So with that, you see, a lot of times that we are like people in the office or people in the corporate and so on, sometimes they speak nice words, good words, and then they say sometimes in front there they praise you, but at the back they are holding a knife, just to waiting for you to stab you at the back. Figuratively, not literally, figuratively. So they praise you and so on, but they are not happy, or they want something, or they want something back. You praise the boss and you talk to the boss, you try to be nice with them and so on, because perhaps you want some promotion, you want to be this and that and so on, So too, sometimes even from young already, and even in school also, I've seen all these things already. Sometimes they want to get into in the good books of the teachers, become the teacher's pet. They become a teacher's pet and so on. We all can see all those things even from when we are young. Yeah. And also, there are also sometimes devotees also. They try to be nice with the monk and so on. That also I see through. They want to get like some privilege or whatever and so on. That one again, they praise the monk, they support the monk, they do that because they want something inside there. Be careful also. Sometimes even in the Buddhist society, you try to be close to some people, and then you'll be happy for what they do and so on, because you also in the future you're already thinking, I want to be in their committee, I want to do this, I want to do that. I mean, it's good and certain thing, but still there's a lot of wanting is there. Anyway, that one, it's a bit debatable, but some people crazy for power, crazy for name one, that it's another thing. So this is one thing. So like for example, let me see. Some people giving, they do a lot of giving. Do a lot of giving, but then when they do a lot of giving, they want name and fame also is there. Especially the politician. Sorry to say, if you're one, once you give offering somebody something, then you want to ask all the reporters to come in and take photo of you and spread it all over the social media, the mass media, to show that, there I've done something. There's ulterior motive there. So again, you see, so a lot of all these things are happening sometimes without really realizing it. But nevertheless, it will be good that we take note of it. Now, let's go back to the question. You mentioned for mudita, you wish the material and the spiritual gains are not diminished. Isn't that a form of expectation? Again, this is depending on how your mind, it depends on how your mind look at it. It depends on how your mind look at it. You see, when we do the Mettā, when we say that, may all my spiritual gains and all my material gains do not disappear, do not diminish. But the spirit, all these gains is for the happiness present here and now, for our welfare, for our well-being, and they are supportive for the progress of your spiritual path. You need certain degree of wholesome deeds. Not that we want to attach to all these material gains, but material gains also still in a way supportive of your this one. Like for example, the Buddha says, if you are hungry, if you are really hungry, even the Dhamma talks also you cannot listen. There's one time it says that some beings or some people come in to hear the Dhamma talks, but very hungry. The Buddha stopped the Dhamma talk, asked them to provide food for the person, eat the food first, then only start listening to the Dhamma talk. And that one I remember somewhere long ago. So it is, you need certain material gains also. Now here, when we say that the spiritual gains is not diminished and so on, we are not like attached to the spiritual gains, in that sense. We are not attached to the spiritual gains. It's just that spiritual gains, material gains are just for the support for our development, for our further development. But on the worldly side, then this is different, because on the worldly side, when we want that spiritual gain not to disappear, but we want to hold on, we want to attach to our asset, our money, so that all these things are not only getting this one, but it's going to get more and more and more, with a lot of strong mental greed is there. Strong mental greed is there. Whereas when we wish for ourselves, this is not in the sense of that type of greed, of that type of worldly greed, but it's just for the sake of our progress towards the better spiritual development. Then when we wish for others also, it's the same thing. We don't want his material gains. We don't want all his spiritual gains, but we wish that his spiritual gains, his material gains, give him happiness, give him joy, give him spiritual well-being, give him physical well-being. In that sense, we just want to wish him that all these things, all his this one, give him happiness. So it's perfectly all right. And all the dana that he has done or she has done, then we wish that all this resultant karma, perhaps, all the resultant karma that he has developed, all his past karma that he has developed from the past, and it will result in the present or the future. Then we wish that this karma from the past, give him all the happiness and all the joy. We don't want any part of his joy at all, So too, the same thing that we wish for ourselves. We don't want, not to say we want attached to our joy, but with the material qualities that we have developed, or the material gains that we have developed and spiritual gains that we have developed, it helps us into further development for ourselves, wholesome development. It gives us joy, it gives us spiritual well-being in that sense. So there's a fine line here. There's a fine line here to understand this type of greed. So therefore, when we do this mudita, so it's good that we look at it to a little bit more. So, all right. So now, you said that when you do metta outside sitting, you ready think to keep distance, mostly touch and go. Yeah, it's perfectly all right, because there's also another later part. There's another question also asking the same thing. Okay, I'll answer that too in a short while. But before that, yes, this is something. Please explain a little on radiation of metta to all beings, airbound or waterbound or earthbound. Is it necessary, and how do we do it? Okay, airbound. There may be airbound devas, waterbound devas. There could be earthbound devas in this world itself. There are three different devas according to the terrain. So there are also animals, waterbound animals, earthbound animal, or airbound animals. In that sense, so is it necessary, and how do we do it? It depends on you. For example, like on Wednesday, we talk about specified and unspecified beings. The specified, for example, Sappa Itiyo, Sabbe Purisa, the female, male. We divide them into female and male. Specified. So here also the same thing. You are dividing them into specified, into air, into water, into earth. Specified. Now, is it necessary? If at that particular occasion, if you find that it is necessary, may all the airbound devas, let's say, may all the airbound beings be free from all kinds of harm and danger. You can do that, no problem. May all of them be free from mental suffering, free from physical suffering. May they be peaceful. All this, you can do that. It's not a problem. You can do that. This is more what you call a specified grouping. A specified grouping. So it's perfectly all right if you want to do it. So is it necessary? It's all up to you. Sometimes it may be necessary. Sometimes it may not be necessary. So it may not be necessary. You don't have to do it. Then you ask for this one, is others necessary? A lot of people may say that it is not necessary also. Yeah, some of us just group all the beings into, like in the earth. In the whole world like that, whether they are airbound, waterbound, earthbound, they are all in the earth. So this is what we can do too, So is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's right if at that moment of time, if this airbound, waterbound, earthbound give rise to Mettā, then it's okay. So it's the same thing. How do we do it? It's just like we repeat the same lines. May all the airbound devas or the airbound beings, may they be free from harm and danger, free from all mental suffering. Same lines. Number two. Could you kindly share with us the right effort and struggles and progress of the Group A yogis? Hopefully they will motivate and inspire us to work. All right. If you want to know how the Group A work, yes, you can. You sign up for 8 hours per day session, then you come to Group A, then you will know. Simple. But you don't want to, you want to do 2 hours, 3 hours per day only, and sometimes whether you do it or not, I also do not know. Whereas in the Group A one, I asked them, how many hours do you do? How many hours do you start? When do you start? When do you end? What is your schedule like? More this one. But for Group B, of course, we cannot do that. Cannot do that for everybody. Now, the struggle is the same as Group B. It's not that they are different, They still have a lot of, sometimes some of them still have thinking, still have sloth and torpor. But because of more hours of practice, then the mind has less thinking. I mean, sometimes they have less, most of the time they have less thinking, but once in a while the thinking is still there. But because of the long hours, because of the continuity of practice, then the Mettā also can go a little bit more further. So finally, it's not about this one. It's about time and your commitment to do it. So some of you Some of you, when you all take up this meditation, when you start off, you think that this Mettā come in and play, tito, suka, you sign up, you thought that just because it's Mettā, yeah, nice, go sign up. You didn't even know that how strict the teacher can be. You think that you come in, okay, I sign up, maybe I got other commitment, I can still do other commitment, then come back and do. As I said earlier on, you have your choice to do whatever you want. I have my right also to do whatever I want. If I see that you are not really that committed, so finally it's all about you keep going, you keep meditating and so on. You keep it going. Some of you have finished the retreat. Yes, sadhu to all of you, and sadhu to you, even if you finish the retreat even for 10 days. But nevertheless, you can still go on. No harm, since we are still in Mettā. But if you want to go on forever, perfect. It's not a problem at all. So don't worry. They are still struggling also, just like Group B also. Okay, next one. Okay. Bhante, we understand from Dhamma talk that Mettā Bhāvanā dedication is for living beings. In the past, we go to the funeral parlor, we used to radiate Mettā to the departed ones. So in this scenario, if we may seek Bhante's advice, what will be the appropriate when we are attending wake services and at the funeral parlor? Okay. Now, of course, in the funeral thing, one thing is that I'm a monk, but I'm not expert in all this funeral thing. Sometimes people thought that all monks are all expert in all this funeral thing. You think that we all sai gong, to do all this type of thing. You think that we know everything about all funeral. Sometimes I'm very mong cha cha what to do. But nevertheless, since I'm a monk, I've been to a number of funerals and so on. Not to say that we totally do not know, but I've seen really pro monks to do all these funeral services. They are really, especially when I went into Thailand, when certain centers, they have a cremation inside the temple ground, There are cremation inside the temple ground. So there are monks who provide these services for the one who are the living ones, and also of course to the dead, to the departed ones. They provide, and because of that, they are so pro in all these type of things. So I pick up a thing or two, of course. But I'm not so interested in all these things. But nevertheless, sometimes we do this service also. So in this scenario, okay, now let us go back to this Mettā thing. So is it appropriate to radiate Mettā to the departed ones? No, it is not appropriate to radiate Mettā to the departed one. It is appropriate to develop the Mettā for the living ones. Now, if let's say you are in the funeral parlor, this is what you can do. You can radiate Mettā to the living ones, those people who come here, those people who come for the funeral, whether they are the close relatives, whether they are friends and family members and so on, you can radiate to them. But for the departed ones, we don't directly do the Mettā to the departed one in this way. But another way we can do, we can radiate Mettā to wherever he or she has been reborn. That means he has been take rebirth, whether in the happy planes of existence or towards the unhappy planes of existence. We can radiate Mettā that's connected to the departed one, but he's already or she's already so-called alive there. Then we can radiate Mettā to that being wherever he is or wherever she is. So we cannot do it to the corpse and do it to this one. So that's another way for you to turn around the the thing. Then that will be appropriate. And of course, usually is the funeral is usually the main thing is the sharing of merits and so on. They're offering something, sharing of merits. That would be very good. Usually the sharing of merits is the main thing. But nevertheless, since if you want to do some mettā also, then as I said, not to the departed ones, but you can do it to the where he or she has been reborn to whichever planes of existence. Okay? Yeah. Now, when I'm back to work, I've forgotten about mettā. Can Bhante please brief again how to do that at workplace? Touch and go before we interact with colleagues. Yeah. Now, when we do mettā in our workplace or at home, when we are not sitting and not walking, we cannot do it continuously. We cannot do it continuously unless you have a special time for you to do that. So we cannot do it continuously. It's more like your touch and go. When you say touch and go, it means that you can able to share with them 1 line or 2 lines. But you can do it frequently. Then you can do it frequently. For example, like we are in the bus. Right? You are in the bus or you are driving. And when you are driving, your distance maybe take you half an hour. For that half an hour, you don't have to do it continuously. You can do it like, for example, may all the people around here on the road be free from harm and danger. Then you carry on driving, and then you come to a traffic light, you stop for a while. Then again, you read it, may all the beings around here be free from harm and danger. Then it turns green, then you start driving again. Then you just have 1 or 2 or 3 lines, and that's it. And then you can look around. Sometimes you see a dog over there. May you be free from harm and danger. It's perfectly all right. It's touch and go. You can have 1 or 2 lines. Then after you drive, you go to your office again. You sit down. You're in a meeting, for example, and then in the meeting, sometimes you do not know what the boss is talking or what somebody else is talking. And then sit there, may you be well and happy. Sometimes instead of getting annoyed with him, I know what talking me. Then it may you be well and happy. Then again, you give a little bit here, and then maybe during your lunch break and so on, you see a lot of people again. Then may all beings here around be well and happy. Then if the thing is that in the workplace or when you're outside, when you're at home, it's about the frequency of doing it. The frequency of doing it is that you do it a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there at home. That is perfectly all right. That would be very good, actually. That would be very good because it's going to help you. The thing is that you're going to give rise to a habit, a mental habit. And this mental habit, if you keep doing it again, you're going to change your character much more better than before. People can see a change in character. Then that character, that wholesome character, that more happier character, less anxiety type of character because of the mettā that you have developed over time, because of the habit. And then that mettā, when you want to strive for your further of your enlightenment or your further deeper aspect of the mettā and so on, then it becomes a foundation. The great foundation is there already. The wonderful foundation is there. Then it's easier for you to strive much more further. So it would be good that we do it frequently, wherever you are. You don't have to be long. As I say, although it's touch and go, just 1 or 2 lines, but frequently. Okay? That would be very, very good. Okay. Now, that's the last question. No? Okay. Please explain what is meant by Mettā Ceto Vimutti. Can Mettā Bhāvanā process, if properly practiced and developed, leads to the stages of enlightenment? Okay. Now, this Mettā Ceto Vimutti, the Pali word for the Vimutti here, it means liberation. It means liberation. Ceto means mind, mettā means mettā. So, mental liberation by mettā. What does it mean? mental liberation by metta. Or sometimes we call it the apana citta vimutti also. Apana here, boundless citta vimutti, because the word is apana, or measureless or immeasurable liberation of the mind. Now here, the metta citta vimutti is one of the four, falls under the apamana citta vimutti. The four apamana is the four Brahma Vihara, is the four Brahma Vihara. And when you develop to a deep degree, and it goes into jhana, as I said, in the Sutanta method, there are first, second, third jhana. In the Abhidhamma method, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 jhana. Okay, so this jhana, it's called Ceto Vimutti. This jhana is called Ceto Vimutti. It's just another name. Liberation of what? Liberation because it's liberated the mind from defilements. It's not eradicated. At least it liberated for a period of time from the defilements. The defilements cannot attack, cannot come in, cannot exist at all when the mind is in jhana. So it's a liberated in that sense. So this is called Metta Citta Vimutti. So the jhana is the Metta Citta Vimutti. Now, if we properly practice, develop, leads to the stages of enlightenment. Now, this metta directly, this jhana, when it reaches this jhana, it can, of course, this jhana cannot have that enlightenment. But usually, what people do is that when you have this metta jhana, then after that, we use it to develop the four foundation of mindfulness. We use it is to develop the four foundation of mindfulness, and then with that, it brings about the enlightenment, all the different stages of enlightenment. So if the metta is being used for the sake of enlightenment, then it also falls under, the 7 factors of enlightenment. It falls under the 4 foundation of mindfulness. It falls under it because it support them. It support so that you can able to develop and gain enlightenment. Now, in the traditional text, in the suttas, it is how they do it is this: they come out from the jhana. And let's say you have the first jhana. The first jhana, and they said they got the 5 factors: Vittaka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata, which is the initial application, sustained application. Then you have joy. Then you have pleasant mental feeling. Then after that, you have concentration. 5 factors of the jhana. So what they do is that now they come out from the metta, from that liberation. Then they aware of the 5 factors. Not only that, they see the changes, the impermanence of these 5 factors of this, whether it's joy, whether it is vittaka. They see the arising and passing away. And when they see the arising and passing away of all these things, that one actually already turned into Dhammanupassana already, or Chittanupassana, depending. They already turned into it already. But normally in the sutta it's mentioned, you come out from there, you go into look into the mental factors, you look into the different factors, then the enlightenment, if you develop well enough, then the enlightenment comes in. So it's not straightforward, but it's an indirect way. So it is good that we develop this metta, because this metta also, even we don't come to the jhana also, this metta is one of the 4 guardian meditation for vipassana. It's one of the 4 guardian meditation. The other 2 is the 32 parts of the body, mindfulness of death, and then you have the 9 virtues of the Buddha. So a lot of people like to develop metta for that, because this helps to overcome our irritation, our this one. And with that, it helps to let the mind go further. So this is what we mean by Mettā Citta Vimutti. Okay, so this is about all the this one. So okay, now the tomorrow we have an interview. So the interview list already come out in the group B, and there's a 9 o'clock in the morning, and also there's 8:30 in the evening. Okay, so take note of their time. All right, so we'll stop here. Let's share merits.